frequently says that what do we do when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine? And it was something you said this morning at the energy conference that you were at, when you talked about the inefficiency of renewables right now. But I want to argue that the key issue is not about nature. Indeed, it's not about technology or engineering, but it's a political issue. And it really does come to the fore when you read this plan, because it starts by targeting ordinary people as the ones that are the problem and the ones that inflict the damage. So, to quote from it, it says, "Those inflicting the damage do not pay the cost of the damage they inflict. This is the rationale for charging a carbon price for carbon emissions, which reflect the growing damage that they are inflicting. This serves to discourage emissions and to make carbon abatement more profitable." And so it's ordinary people's fault. It's not the fossil fuel industry, it's not the plastics industry, it's not the global food corporations, it's not to do with oil and gas, it's ordinary people that we're targeting at. And I believe this is a massive mistake. We're targeting people as if the choices and their behaviour is responsible for the melting of the permafrost in the Himalayas, as reported this morning, for the shocking scenes we saw in the Arctic of huskies running through water up to their knees and beyond, where they should be running across snow, for the possibility that tens of thousands of people will die in India in the worst heat wave they have ever seen, and for the inevitability of increased weather extremities both here and around the planet. And I want to say that this plan that you have brought in for to deal with climate chaos is not seriously a plan. It doesn't even acknowledge that there's an emergency. It doesn't actually take serious all of the reports and the repeated warnings that are coming at us in their dozens every week. And what you're doing here is you're using an opportunity, just like, as the fellow said, you never waste a good crisis, you're using an opportunity to give business wide open access to our natural resources and to plans that they can make in order to dominate the agenda in this country. An interesting piece in the Irish Times on the 8th of April shows you where Amazon have bought up the output from an entire wind farm in Donegal. It was objected to for some time, but they've bought up the output from an entire wind farm. And this is contained in your plan, where you allow for the fact that we want to encourage. You said yesterday that data centres are popping up around the place, but your plan says we want to encourage and to attract more data centres. And the Airgrid have told us that data centres will use up to 1/3 of our national potential for electricity production. And those data centres can then create what are called, let me see if I can find the, what are called a corporate power purchasing agreement to buy up the energy from privatised wind farms, and that's exactly what is happening. So in 5 years' time, Minister, I've no doubt we'll be sitting here saying, oh my God, we failed to reach our emission targets. But Amazon won't have failed. Neither will Apple or whomever else gets to build the data centres, use our water and use the natural resources that go with it, because sun and wind and wave are our natural resources. And just like in the past Fianna Fáil privatised our oil and gas, it looks like Fine Gael are about to privatise the natural resources and the renewables that go with it. And here's another interesting report that went under the radar when you launched yours. In the same week that you launched yours, Coillte and the ESB announced plans to set up a new company to build wind farms on 50 sites owned by Coillte, in other words, owned by the people because they are state lands. A good start, you might think, that the state has taken a leading role, but however, once they set them up and build them, they then sell them off to private companies. So I want to finish by saying that I believe that this is a blueprint for the massive privatisation and sell-off of renewable energy throughout the country. And there's already, you can see them licking their lips and queuing up to get in on the act. You also said today that the climate emergency bill was premature. I'd like to know exactly, and I'm asking you directly this question, what do you mean by that? When will it be mature? Will it be mature when the level of carbon into the atmosphere is at 500 parts per million instead of at 416, which it is now? Will it be mature when the temperatures rise to 3 or 4 degrees above what they should be? Will you please explain to me what's mature, what's immature about stopping the extraction of fossil fuels?